Hello, this is Jordan. This video is being recorded on the late evening of Monday, December 26th, 2022. Thank you so much for joining me. And in this video, I'm going to take a brief look at the gold and silver market. This is going to be obviously a slow week, given that we're coming off the Christmas holiday and we have the New Year holiday coming. And with that, I hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas and is enjoying the holiday season. And so let's get into it. And so what we're seeing from gold and silver, at least in the last couple of weeks, is they're stabilizing around resistance. I mean, you can see gold traded up to the 200-day moving average at the beginning of December, and it has been pretty stable there. Hasn't corrected much in price. However, if you look at the weekly chart, you can see that a couple of times it's closed the week well off the highs. So you can see the red lines there. I mean, you have one, I think, at 1870, and the other one is around 1840-ish, maybe a little bit above that. So gold is holding up well for the time being. If there is going to be an upside push here in the next couple of weeks, I think you'd be looking at 1870 as the maximum. And remember that 1840, I believe that's a 50% retrace from the 2020 peak down to the 2022 bottom there at the beginning of November, or a little bit after that. The intraday bottom, what was that, 1617, 1618, something like that. So with that 50% retrace at 1840, there's a lot of resistance there. I mean, you've heard me say that in these videos. And so possibly if there's one more upside push here, we could see 1870. Looking at silver, silver has been leading gold, and it's been a little bit stronger. There is some resistance that silver has come up to. Just in the mid 24s. They're in the upper 24s as well. There's really stiff resistance at 26. So I'd be really surprised if silver was able to push up and reach 26 on this move. Maybe it can push up a little bit more. The question is, with respect to the S&P 500, and maybe coming in the year, because it was such a bad year, all these stocks perform really poorly. Maybe the market is going to get some kind of bounce to start the year. So that might take a little bit of money out of gold. But on the other hand, if there's a point in the very short term where that rally peters out and the market resumes its downtrend and bear market, I think in that scenario, you're going to see gold hold, certainly outperform silver, but also you could see the gold stocks sell off with the market for the first part of that decline. And so in that very beginning of that market decline, gold should probably hold up the best. And who knows, maybe it'll even get a bid. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Last thing on silver here, the thing I really want to see is if we do have a correction, let's see if silver can hold above. You have the 200-day moving average there at 21. It's coming down a little bit. I mean, you also have good support at 20 and 21 lateral support there. So that's something I'm thinking about for the next couple months. If we're going to have a correction in this market, will silver be able to hold around 20 or 21, around the 200-day moving average? I mean, that would be really bullish. I mean, that would be a great buying opportunity if you see that correction and then you see silver stabilize around $20, $21. And again, perhaps that correction comes when the S&P sells off again and the market's discounting a recession. Silver is going to get hit initially, I think, in that scenario. But again, I'm getting way ahead of myself. So looking at the stocks here, I mean, we know, GDX and GDXJ specifically, they came up to a confluence of resistance at the very beginning of December. In the Silver Juniors SILJ. By the way, SILJ trades more volume than SIL, so I like using SILJ more. And so SILJ, that came up to resistance in the middle of November, and that's been, consolidating bullishly for a while, at least based on these daily bar charts. And so again, GDXJ, GDX, they came up to really, really stiff resistance, a confluence of resistance there at 37, and then 29.30 for GDX, or 29 specifically. And I mean, just look at the daily action, the daily bars. I mean, look at the last, 15, 17 last bars. I mean, they're consolidating in a tight range. So, maybe they could pop higher. I mean, if the stock market has a little bit of a rally to start the year, I think miners would probably follow that, and you could get a pop higher here, before you might get the correction, at least that I was looking for a couple weeks ago. So that's something to keep in mind, where they could pop higher and everybody would get really excited and say, okay, now they're going to take off. And then the stock market rolls over again and it takes the miners with it. And so the miners come down and have a correction. So that's something to think about. But again, in that scenario, we're not talking about some 30, 20% correction for the miners. I mean, I looked at GDX. I mean, that's only corrected 9%. So, I mean, if GDX were to get to 32, I mean, who knows? Maybe that could come down to, 26 potentially. I'm just throwing numbers out there if the stock market rolls over and declines towards 3,500. So that's just something to think about. But it's interesting to look at the daily bar charts here, because it does look like a bullish setup for the miners, even though the weekly charts are less bullish in my opinion. But I guess we're just nitpicking here. I'll just leave it at that. We get a tax loss bounce in the stock market. Miners could follow that to start the year. And again, if you're looking at a lot of the smaller juniors that are on the lower end of SILJ and GDXJ, and the ones that are not even in there, there's a lot of those companies that have bottomed and they haven't really rebounded yet. They could really rebound in January. That's something to keep in mind. So overall, let me know what you think in the comments. Not a lot happening. I tried to squeeze out a few thoughts, a few cogent thoughts, but I think we're setting up for something that's going to be a really special year for precious metals. I think we're going to look back and say, wow, that bottom at the end of 2022 was just a historic major turning point in the sector. And I guess if I'm wrong, you can refer back to this comment in a year, but it'll take a lot of time to find out. On that note, enough talking for me. I don't want this to be too long. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys again in the next video.